Hola, muy buenos dias, continuous liners. This is Meagan Burns coming to you live from the streets, from the centro of San Miguel de Allende in the Jardín. Yeah, I just moved my table and now it's super wobbly, as is every table in Mexico. That's just how it goes here. I feel like every restaurant should be called the wobbly table. Yeah, so I'm back here in San Miguel. Always good to come home after a whirlwind travel. I think I've done a live stream since I've been back, but I can't remember. Yeah, the whole thing has just been a one whirlwind after another. And this week, this past month here in San Miguel, it's just been one parade, like it's just been constant drumming all out here. There's been parades leading up to it because the whole month of September and October, I feel like, I know this is not facts. This is just how I see it. It's I mean, there's lots of festivities in October, but honestly, it's like the colliding of cultures of the indigenous and Catholicism, because you can see it in their dress, where they're wearing like indigenous dress and feathers and skulls and bones, with the Virgin de Guadalupe or other Catholic symbols, right? Hats that soldiers would wear with ribbons coming out of them, right? So it's like, how did that start? How did they start wearing like soldiers' hats with ribbons, you know? So I always think about it that way. I mean, it's beautiful and it's quite a cultural celebration and acknowledgement. It's a beautiful thing to see. I don't think anyone does it like that. But yeah, so I'm going to do some continuous line warm-ups here in the Jardín on this Monday. Hello, birdies. Monday, I think it's Monday, October 7th, right? First of all, let me have a sip of my latte, my beautiful latte. Oh, and because it is October, which means Dia de Muertos is just around the corner, I'm here at Hortus, right on the Jardín, and I see their whole box of pastries, croissants, you have to say it like that once you've been to Paris, right? Chocolatine. What do they call them in Paris now? I know I got myself in trouble because they're pain chocolat, right? And I called it chocolatine. Got myself in a little trouble. But in Mexico, it is now the season of the pan de muerto. Look at that! Isn't that a beauty? So the story behind the pan de muerto, and you would hear a lot of different stories about it, but that this design here represents the bones of your ancestors, or the ancestors, right? Because they kind of look like there's a knee bone, and there's an ankle, there's an elbow, and there's the skull right there, right? And it's covered with sugar, and there's a few different ways to make it. In some of my workshops, we have gone to pan de muerto workshops, we've made them, and there's like anise, orange blossom essence, something lavender, carbon ash, right? Sometimes these are covered in black ash, which gives it that sort of like cremated look that we all want in our pastries. No, but actually, because so many things like the Dia de Muertos, so not holiday. I can't even think of the word, but you know, it's not Mexican Halloween. It is Dia de Muertos, and it is a time to honor the ancestors and all kinds of things around that. It's not Mexican trick-or-treat, right? So there's been lots of, anyways, I won't even get into the controversy of it, but it's not something to come down here and go hog wild with. There's a little bit, you got to be a little bit more mindful of it, because it really is. The Mexican culture, and there's lots of different elements to the culture, is like they're not all celebrating the same way, right? Like, just for example, in the United States, like 4th of July, everyone kind of celebrates the same way. Things are changing, right? Here, so like Dia de Muertos, there's lots of different influences into Mexican culture about indigenous cultures and how they acknowledged and gave importance to the process of dying, and then the death and honoring ancestors, right? I mean, as an American, And as someone who grew up in the Midwest, the whole death thing is pretty creepy. It's pretty mysterious. I remember as a child seeing my grandmother's open casket. I saw uncles' open caskets for the wakes. And, to go from like seeing someone alive or whatever and then seeing them in a casket and how they make them up to like pretend like they're still living, like with makeup and stuff like that. It's super weird, right? Like it's traumatic. But the whole notion of awake and honoring the death of someone is something that, it can't always be acknowledged, but it's a part of the Mexican culture. And honestly, just in all my years here, I've learned so much. Being in Mexico City, I probably learned the most about it because here in San Miguel, it's like Katrina parades and makeup and parties. And I mean, it's a lot like that in a lot of places, but in, outside of San Miguel, it's funny, the Katrinas, because the Katrinas were like, they were created in the 1900s, early 1900s, as a way to make fun of the rich people. And so then there's Katrina parades here in San Miguel, and it's all the foreigners dressed up. There's Mexicans too. It is certainly something that everyone celebrates, but in varying degrees, right? So the Katrinas, who were once, that notion was created as a way to make fun of the rich people with their nouveau money. And now it's like a huge thing here in San Miguel, how the people dress up as Katrinas and go on parades, right? I'm not judging. I'm just saying, isn't that ironic, right? And so just the things that, by going on tours and learning in Mexico City, I really did learn a lot more about the actual history. And, like even on my last sketch tour, I was talking with my guy Carlos, who guides us in Xochimilco, and he said, honestly, Day of the Dead, Dia de Muertos, was always for me very boring as a kid, because really what we had to do is just sit around and pray. And as a kid, is there anything more boring than sitting around and praying? And so that's kind of how it came, it was once acknowledged. And then what really changed things was in when the James Bond series was filming one of their series in Mexico City, and they had a Dia de Muertos parade in the movie, and it was kind of cool, right? And so then the city started doing Dia de Muertos parades, and honestly, every year it gets bigger and crazier, and they're still using a lot of the props that they used in that James Bond movie, right? Like you see some of these skulls, like I've seen them spinning around, and it looks a little dated. When you see these dated floats, those are the ones from the James Bond thing. But did I go last year? I can't remember. No, I don't think I went last year in Mexico City. But I've been several years to the big Muertos parade, and it's huge. Like the whole world comes to that now. And honestly, I think it's where I got COVID. Felt deathly ill about 10 days after going to the parade, and it's huge, and there's people from all over who want to see it. It's a very cool thing to see. Honestly, the cooler thing is to see how the neighborhoods and how the local churches, as opposed to like the big grand fiestas, right? Like the way the neighborhoods, the altars and stuff like that. So what am I saying here? Oh, I don't know what I was saying, except I was getting all caught up on the whole Dia de Muertos thing. I mean, I myself, pretty much everyone I know loves October, right? Who doesn't love October? It's fall, you get to wear scarves again, it's not as hot, the leaves start falling. Now, there's not really leaves here, it doesn't do that here, but having just been in Paris and all the leaves falling and the puddles, and yeah, I loved it. I love it, right? So I kind of still miss Halloween. Although I would say here in San Miguel, they do combine the two events, because the actual holiday, the kids all dress up. All the kids, Mexican kids, are all dressed up, and they go around and get candy here on the Jardín from everyone, but a lot of gringos, right? So it's a fun thing that's been happening for years, combining the two, Dia de Muertos and Halloween. But I mean, there's some purists out there that would never dream of combining the two things because they're very, like the Halloween thing in America is now super commercial, right? And in here in Mexico, it's become pretty commercial, but there are people that really, teach others about the importance of honoring your ancestors. And the whole thing, like as a tourist, you shouldn't be going to the cemeteries and taking pictures and looking at the families. It's super inappropriate. I mean, I know plenty of people that do it, but it's not really appropriate. And I learned that from my time in Mexico City. So anyways, here we go. I'm going to do a second layer of my lines because I'm really enjoying it. And the act of doing these continuous lines really helps me get centered, like many of you, when I wake, when I open my eyes, I fire up my phone and see what the heck is going on out there. And, with the American election, which is like 1 month left, it's all kinds of there's just going to be all kinds of drama. All my energy woo-woo people are like, brace yourselves. This month is going to be off the charts. Well, you don't have to be an energy woo-woo person to know that it's going to be off the charts. It's already been off the charts in the way that criminal Donald Trump is just making things so much worse with all of his constant lies, and then all of his idiots keep repeating them. Yesterday he said, you will be hurt if you acknowledge that you vote for Kamala. You will regret admitting if you vote for Kamala. This is what it's coming to, right? So anyways, that's stressful, right? Because there's threats of violence, there's threats of anarchy, there's threats of all kinds of things, right? Somebody not being able to admit when he loses. I mean, again and again. I think he's going to have to drop dead for him to get over the fact that he just keeps losing. And so it's going to be stressful, right? So arm yourself, protect yourself, do whatever you need to do to stay calm, to stay centered, to stay healthy. Stay healthy, right? That's a big thing. There's the COVID is still flying around. I know several people who are just recovering from it. And, everyone, what is this whole thing called revenge travel? Just from having been sidelined for so long, a lot of us are just getting back out there as best we can because we kind of miss some things, right? I think it's a combination of not wanting to, maybe you had a death scare during the past few years. I did. I thought I was done. I thought I was going down, right? And so having had that, it kind of made me super clear on what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, how I wanted to spend. I'm not saying my final years, but it just made me get really clear on how do I want to spend this part of my life? What do I want to do with this era of my life? I don't want to waste it. I feel like I wasted a lot of years of my youth, mostly because I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know how to find my purpose, right? So I wasted a lot of years. I was a jerk. I was a loudmouth. And then everything changed on my mother's deathbed, right? Everything changed then when she said to me, I wish I had been nicer to you. I was like, cut it out. He's like, no, really, I was wrong about you, and I wish I had been nicer to you. And I have just written my first book. I wrote a book about that, how that hurt my mother's deathbed. It was an apology. How her deathbed apology, how it changed the course of my life. And it's an illustrated book, and I'm pretty excited about it. My friend Marty McGinnis threatened me and told me I had to do it. No, she didn't. She didn't threaten me. But she really did kind of crack the whip for me because it's been lingering around in my mind because, really I just sit around and do nothing. No, she really just was like, chop, chop, get to it. And I did. In one day I wrote it. Now the hard part is I'm illustrating it, so that'll take longer. But, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I'm pretty excited about the future so long as I able to live through it, right? I mean, I'm not saying that to be what is that? Debbie Downer. It's really just being real, right? None of us know how much time we have left, right? None of us know how much time we have left. There's all kinds of things flying around, viruses, whatever, diseases. There's always been diseases. We're all doing high-speed travel. There's all kinds of ways to die. Speaking of Dia de Muertos, right? And I'm really not doomy and gloomy about it. I'm just like, I don't know what kind of time I have left, but whatever I have left, I'm gonna have my drawing empire. I'm gonna be an artist, and I'm gonna have workshops all over the world. And is it about fame and fortune? No, I don't think so. But it's really in paying homage to my mother, because I was so lost for so many years, and she knew it, right? And she knew it, and it drove her crazy, because she would be like, you need to go to secretarial school. And I was like, shoot me now. If you think I have to go to secretarial school, shoot me now. I still can't type, right? I have been a secretary. In my first few years in my working life, I was administrative. I was a secretary, and I hated it, but it was really good skills, right? Really good skills to have, to know how to manage an office, know how to do accounting stuff, to know how to do Excel spreadsheets. The whole deal, right? Really good, but I'm really glad it wasn't my my life's mission, right? So I'm going to finish big with a heart, because these are stressful days. We're all getting kind of triggered by things, and there's a lot of misinformation, mostly by Donald Trump and his morons that keep perpetuating his lies. So brace yourselves for even more, right? So, go easy on yourself, go easy on others, right? I have to remind myself daily to do that. And, it's easy to have grace for someone I like or someone I feel sorry for. But in the case of Donald Trump, who is someone I can't stand, how do I have grace for a monster like Donald Trump? How do you have grace for someone who's so arrogant, who's so delusional, who's in diapers, who's suffering from very late stage dementia, and no one wants to tell him? How do you have grace? Well, I guess that you have grace for, like, what is that saying? A dying mule kicks the hardest, right? Like, he, with all his might, is trying to hang on to the patriarchy, right? He and all his white nationalist Nazi friends are trying to hang on to the patriarchy for dear life, right? Because it's all they got. It's all they got. So how do you have grace for that? Well, their end is coming, right? Now my end is coming too, right? And so what are you going to do before the end comes? Well, I'm going to draw, and I'm going to go easy on myself and easy on others. I'm going to try to stay focused on being positive, just try to support a community of artists who want to be artists and make art, because it makes us feel better, right? It makes us feel better. And I've been working on some agendas, and I'm excited. I'm going to put out some new workshops out there. I took a little break from Mexico just because there were like issues with water and stuff like that. Little things like that. And not that it's solved, but it's better for now. So, okay, everyone. Happy Pan de Muerto month. Look at that. Isn't that cool? I'm going to bring this home, because I usually don't eat bread until after I've had my protein and some vegetables. And I really try to stick to that, because otherwise I just don't feel good, right? So it's a whole thing of, like, do whatever you can to make yourself feel better. Draw if you feel better. Can I get la cuenta, por favor? Gracias. En un bolsito para este. Yeah, para llevar. Gracias. Hang in there, everyone. Keep telling your stories. Go easy on yourself. Go easy on others. I got to rush home and get into my Zoom class. We got the continuous... Oh. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Stay safe out there. Stay sane. Okay, bye. Oops. What am I doing?